I don't think this should be a problem, but because of Ms. Karam and I, the conversation we had earlier, traditionally, forever, what we do when we have an investigating officer, there's only certain things they can talk about through various stages of the case. For instance, if they interview someone later, they can't really talk about that until after the person has testified, because it would be hearsay. So we bring them back on, to talk about those things at a later point in time. That's something that we've always done, because, quite frankly, it would be virtually impossible to get all of this out at the initial stages of the case due to those issues. And my question then is do you all have any objection to us bringing him back?
No, but I will have objections if there's some bolstering or some reviewing previous testimony and it becomes excessive, just to the point.
Yeah,
I may have to make objections.
We are trying. I'll give you. We're trying to present this case in a linear fashion.
Right.
We're not wanting to go back.
I understand.
So we, right now, as you've noticed through my questioning, just what did you see when you came in? We do not anticipate. I mean, we may have to just minimally, but we do not anticipate going back to that.
As long as it becomes linear and not loops,
Yes.
I think we won't have an objection.
Okay.
Our goal is to be linear and to tell the story.
It's going to make more. It's going to be more. It should flow logically in a linear manner. Anyway.
Yeah.
The next witness is the coroner.
Instead of jumping around.
Yeah. We're going to do, just so everybody knows, we're going to do the coroner, then we're going to do the medical examiner, then we're going to do the arson investigator, then we're going to come back to Mr. Cornett and say, what did you collect there after all those people have done their things? The only person that's kind of out of order is the medical examiner, and we all understand what's happened as a result
Of course, right.
Okay, so that's our plan.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, all right,
That's
great.
fine, yeah.
Well, this witness is not released, but that's all the questions I have.
All right. I believe that's all the questions for now. Mr. Corner, from Commonwealth.
The issue of cross, and it makes sense. I understand why you might not want cross yet. I'm telling them we will be calling Mr. Cornett tomorrow. I would imagine as defense counsel, I don't want to.
The defense is going to have a few questions.
My name is Will Seidelman. I represent Mr. Shell. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. If I'm not talking loud enough, I got a little throat thing. Just tell me to speak up. And if I talk too fast, just look at me and tell me to slow down.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we've got a couple witnesses. We subpoenaed people for the 11th based on our original court date, and so we're going to ask for them to recognize for the 14th. It sounds like we're on track. He's mostly experts on that.
Let's recognize them. How about tomorrow?
Tomorrow we've got Commonwealth witnesses.
All day, you
We've got
think?
Plenty of Commonwealth witnesses.
All day, you think? We'll recognize them for Wednesday.
Yeah, like they're kind of they're all on, so that's good.
It's different.
Shelby not having done something for your case.
All rise. Clerk, the court now session.
All right, be seated, folks. Hope everybody got a good lunch. Does the jury have anything to report to me? All right, very good. All right, Commonwealth, call us next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor, Commonwealth calls Randy Gabbard,
Randy Gabbard.
Kentucky State Police. Judge, I will inform the court, we are going to be utilizing the television once more. And I believe this is called an Elmo, is that what that's called there?
I think it's called, an Elmo or an Otto or something.
Yeah, whatever that contraption is to put the diagram up on the TV.
Okay, all right. So we need to move that, the TV forward a little
Please,
bit in
Your
a
Honor,
moment.
yes.
All
Raise your right hand.
All right. You Randy
I
Gabbard?
think he doesn't have to be as far forward as it was the last time, so that defense counsel and defendant can see it, as well as the jury, where they're situated.
You swear or affirm any testimony you give today with the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right.
Your Honor, may I approach the clerk?
Yes.
Can I ask this to be marked as Commonwealth's exhibit? I believe it's fine with it. Go ahead and review it, it's a 2-page. Just cue. Your Honor, having previously spoken with counsel, I would move to admit this Commonwealth's exhibit 5.
Which is?
This is the state fire investigation by the state fire marshal. It includes a diagram made by that individual of the scene.
All right. Is there any objection to the that document being introduced that's identified as Commonwealth's Exhibit 5?
No, Your Honor.
All right. It's introduced as.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Go ahead and let you hang on to this thing.
Okay.
And you're going to be using that specifically for the diagram when we're asking a question about it.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, could you please introduce yourself to the court and to the jury?
I am Detective Randy Gabbard, Clark's Randall Gabbard, with the Kentucky State Police. I'm an arson investigator out of Post 13, Hazard, Kentucky.
Okay. And how long have you been an arson investigator?
Since February the 15th of 2012, when I was hired by the state police for this position.
Okay. So, on February 18th, 2013, is it safe to assume you were an arson investigator for Kentucky State Police?
Yes, sir.
All right. On that date, February 18th, 2013, did you have any duties that took you to Harlan County, Kentucky as a part of your job?
Yes, sir. I was Harlan Post needed a arson investigator for a fire they had in their post area.
Okay. And is that common for you to be called out to other posts when a fire is believed to have been taking place?
Yes, if the arson investigator at that post is out of town or on vacation or something, we go to other post areas and work all the time.
Okay. Do you remember about what time you arrived on the scene?
I'm going to say it was around noon or so, because it kind of come in early around lunchtime or something, before lunch maybe. I can't really remember. My report is not up here. Do you have a copy of it? I may have the times noted on it.
Sir, I can, Your Honor, may I approach
Yes.
so that he may refresh his memory there? Don't read from this, but you feel free to refresh your memory. If you need a moment to look at that.
Yeah, it says I arrived on the scene at approximately 4:44.
Okay, do you remember arriving
I mean,
on
not
scene?
4:44, 2:44, 1,444 hours.
Do you remember arriving on scene?
Yes, sir.
Does that fit in line with your memory about the time you were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was around noon. I thought it was around noon whenever I got the call, so a couple hours drive over here.
Okay, and you came from Perry County?
Came from Hazard Post, yes. I was on
Okay.
post that day.
All right. So when you arrived on scene as an arson investigator, first off, will you go ahead and tell me what an arson investigator is? What does that mean?
Well, it's my time. It's my job. I have to have training in fire, on the fire side of the house, and also law enforcement side of the house. So you have to be able to. Your general job is to go in and try to figure out cause and origin, where the fire started, what caused it, how it came about, and that type of stuff. If you've got a structure or the evidence there to be able to make that judgment.
Okay. Would it be safe to assume without the particularities of elements of crimes that arson is generally considered a purposeful starting of a fire?
Yes, sir.
Various degrees for various things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you arrive on scene there in Harlan County, Kentucky, what's your intention? What's your duties as an investigator at that time? Why are you there?
The lead investigator requested me come and do a cause and origin for that particular fire.
Okay, for that fire. So how did you go about that process, fulfilling that request? What did you do? What process did you go through?
Whenever I arrived on scene, he kind of briefed me on what he had going on, where it was at inside the house. I went in the house, done a walkthrough, kind of noted where the fires was as I was going through my process of walking through the house, what I seen, where the fire patterns was. Then I came out of the house and went into the basement and checked that area underneath where the fire was at, and then come back up, and there was two fire marshals from the fire marshal's office that was also there helping me, and we talked about what we'd seen, and then we went in and started diagramming, photographing, and collecting evidence.
Okay. Did you go through the location, the residence with the state fire marshals?
Yes, they was both with me the whole time.
At the same time?
Yeah.
So you guys were doing that investigation together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start first with the most simplistic thing. Did it appear that a fire had been at this house, that fire had broken out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it the source from one fire or multiple? What did your investigation conclude?
When I walked through the front door of the house, first thing I seen was a big hole in the floor that had burnt through.
Okay. Let's stop you right there. Let's
Okay.
try and position this diagram to where we can get it on this TV, if you can do that. Okay.
Can you see?
So
Can you
I'm
see
going
it
to give you a
good
peek.
enough
May I
for that?
approach?
Hey, Kobe, can you push out just a little bit for he can see it? He's just about, down that way a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, you're good. We've seen it.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness
Sure.
with a pen? Might be easier to see your finger. We'll use this pen while we're talking about stuff. If you could, you just said that you walked in, the first thing that you noticed was a big hole in the floor, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you inform the jury using that diagram? First off, take a look at that diagram. Do you remember the scene?
Yes.
Is that a fair representation of the scene as you recall?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So your pen, where it's pointed there,
Yeah.
can you describe what that is?
That is the hole in the floor that had burnt through into the basement.
Okay, so is that labeled with a number?
That's number 1 on the diagram.
And is this the number here?
Yes, right beside of it.
And this right here, is that what you're referring to as the hole?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's the significance of a hole in the floor?
The hole in the floor happened whenever the recliner had burnt. What happens sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, I've seen it several times throughout my years of being involved with fire, all the stuff inside of it, all the padding and the stuff burns, and it melts, drops down the floor, burns a hole through the floor, and eventually gives way and it falls down into the basement.
Okay, okay. So the fire there where this hole is and where the chair is that you're talking about, is that an independent source of fire?
I think it is, yes.
Okay, so is that, how many in total? How many places?
There was 2 different fire origins in the living room, one in the bedroom and one in the office area.
Okay, so 4, is that
4.
correct? 4 different places
4
where
different
fire.
areas of origin, yeah.
Okay, Great. Now, you said 2 in the living room, is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes,
So where was the other?
The other one is the couch in the living room. Number 2 was the other area of origin in that room.
Okay. Why, now those appear to me, I'm looking at that diagram there and it's in the same room. I mean, you know, if we're going by actual space on the diagram, it's tiny, but of course that's not to scale as it says down there. How far apart do you recall, just a rough guess of how far apart those 2 places were? The
Probably
location?
5 to 6 feet, not very far apart at all.
5 to 6 feet. Why are they then labeled as 2 different places where a fire had been started? Why is it not the same location?
Well, the couch was in a different area in the living room. The fire could be related between the 2. They are close enough for that to happen. The couch, the fire was more burnt on the end closer to where the chair was at in the living room area. I could not determine for sure if the couch had been set and just didn't burn and the chair did, or whether the couch was kind of set from it. I didn't see a pour pattern or anything to distinguish that there was anything like flammable liquids that was used to spread the fire.
Okay.
So it could be related. It could have been set and just didn't burn.
Okay. Did you come to a finding in your investigation as to whether or not it was related or not?
I think that it was 2 separate fires.
Okay.
Just from my experience and looking at this stuff, I think something may have been laid on the couch or something to start that fire. Also, it just for some reason did not burn like the chair did.
Okay. Let's move on then. What's that was 1 and 2, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is there a third location where the diagram and points out?
Yeah, the
Okay.
third location is in the bedroom area.
Okay, describe that location to the jury, not necessarily what was in there, but concerning the fire and your investigation.
At the end of the bed, there was like a hanger that had clothes hanging on it. Kind of like a free open hanger that you just kind of set in the middle of the floor. And on that hanger, they had clothes hanging on it, and it appeared that somebody had actually set fire to those pieces of clothes.
Okay, okay. So was the fire in that room then limited to the clothing?
It burned itself out.
It did?
Yes, it did. It did not cause very much damage at all. Just enough damage to pretty well destroy the clothing on the hangers, and then that's pretty well it. It burned itself out.
Okay. So then let's move on then to number 4. Is there a number 4 on there?
Yeah.
And could you describe where this fire is located?
This fire was in the room where the victim was found at, on a chair sitting beside the victim. The base of the chair itself had been burnt. It was still intact, but you could see that there was a fire that was in the base of that chair.
Okay. Was there a fire anywhere else in that room?
Just around that chair, in that general area of that chair that I can remember.
Okay. Do you recall the extent of the fire around the chair?
It was not very much damage at all. The chair basically done the same thing as the clothes did. It just kind of burnt the general area around the chair, the top of the chair, and then it kind of just burned itself out.
Okay. So let's go through then each one of these 4 locations, starting with location 1.
Okay?
On the diagram there, location 1, fire 1, is that fire, in your opinion, your investigation, what you perceived and saw, was it limited to that area noted on the diagram?
Yes.
Was it not anywhere else?
I mean, that was the bigger fire of the 4. It did cause more damage to the
Right.
house.
Right.
The fire did spread up and out toward the ceiling. And the way fire spreads, once it develops and starts free burning, it spreads up and out and then rolls across the ceiling, leaving the marks and stuff.
Okay.
That fire was definitely the one that actually burnt and caused most damage.
Okay. So the largest fire.
Yeah.
Would you consider it limited to the living room?
Yes, it was limited to the living room area. What happened was it burnt through the floor. The chair fell into the basement. And when the chair fell into the basement, it either knocked itself out or the fire department put out what was left of it.
Okay, all right. So then let's move on to number 2. Do
Okay.
you see number 2 up here?
Yes.
That's a second source, a second fire, as you testified to, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The fire represented by number 2 on the diagram, was that limited to the area represented on that diagram?
It was limited to the end of the couch, mostly toward the chair.
Okay, so limited to that
Yeah, that
specificity to the
general area
couch.
toward that chair on that end of the couch was more damaged than the farther end of the couch that was away from the chair.
Okay.
The
So
couch was
then-
damaged completely, but the most damage was next to the chair.
Okay. So then would it be easily stated that it was limited to the living room?
Yes, that fire was limited to the living room area.
Okay. Let's move then to number 3. Let's talk about that. Is that a third source of fire?
Yes, sir, it
A
is.
separate source?
Separate source from the rest of the house.
Okay, and what room is that located in?
That was in the bedroom where the clothing was hanging on the racks.
Okay. Is that fire number 3, was that limited to the bedroom
That
where the
was
clothes were
limited.
hanging on the racks?
That was limited to the bedroom and the clothes that was hanging on the racks and did not cause a lot of damage in that room.
Okay, is this the one that you stated had burned itself out, the
Yes,
clothing?
I think it burned itself out prior to the fire department arriving.
Okay. Let's move to number 4 on the diagram. This a fourth source
This
fire?
is the fourth fire, yes.
Okay, independent source of fire?
Independent source of fire in that room.
And what room is this in?
It was in the office room where the victim was found.
Okay. And the fire there, where was it limited to?
It was limited to the chair and the area around the chair.
Okay. Did not encompass the entire room?
No, sir, it did not.
Okay. Go ahead and talk a little bit then about your investigation and your results, leading up to your results, okay? You talked about your career as an arson investigator. I believe you said 2012 you started?
Yeah.
All right. Talk then about your investigation concerning this case.
As far as that, once we went through the area, we seen all the fires, where they was located at, what we seen. Then we backed out, went and got some cans, some arson cans to collect some evidence in. Come up with kind of a game plan, who's going to take photos and who's going to do all that, and then we went back in and just went to each individual area, took samples of that area, photographed that area, and documented as we went back through each one of them.
Okay. Were you able at this point in time to determine, based upon your experience, whether or not you believed any type of accelerant was used?
I do not believe there was any accelerants used. I think it was just open flame to available combustible material.
Okay.
Basically, take a cigarette lighter and light something with it.
Okay. All right. Goes without saying maybe, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Fire location number 1, do you believe that was purposefully set?
Yes, sir. It was in the mid center of a room. There was no other kind of any kind of thing there to start a fire. There was no plug-ins. There was no wiring. There was nothing there that could have started a fire in that area.
Okay. Let's move on to location number 2. Do you believe that that was purposefully set?
Yes, I do. There's no ignition source there either. Like I said, I couldn't determine for sure if it was started from one or whether it was individually started in that particular area, because they was close together, and it could have possibly came from the other one, but from the way it looked to me, it was probably started at a separate point.
Location number 3, fire number 3. Do you believe that that was purposefully set?
Yes, I do. Total separate part of the house, not affiliated with the living room area at all. No other kinds of ignitable sources there. Just some clothes hanging on the rack that had burned off and fell down on the floor.
All right. Fire location number 4, fire 4. Do you believe that that was purposefully set?
Yes, then again, another part of the house, not related to any of the other 2 sections of the house. Just no other ignitable ignition sources in that area other than that chair, and I couldn't tell if something had been laid on the chair and lit or whether it was just held something to the chair till the actual leather started burning, or the top of the chair or whatever was on it. The part where you sat at was just totally burned up and kind of gone.
Okay. So we have 4 separate purposeful fires, in your opinion, set within this one location, this one residence, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why in the world did the house not burn down?
The house was a newer constructed house, very airtight. Probably more than likely there was not enough fuel there for it to start. You got to have something that's going to spread the fire quickly in order to get it to burn into a free burning stage in the whole area. There just was not enough fuel or enough fire introduced to actually get it all going. Plus the house is very airtight, so once the church started burning, it consumed a lot of the oxygen.
Okay. Now, you're an arson investigator. You just told us some stuff about why this fire in particular, these fires didn't work. With your experience and know-how, do you believe that if you attempted to, that you'd be able to burn that house down if you set fire to it? And your intent was to burn it down?
If your intent was to burn it down,
Objection. Sorry.
Just approach, please.
Like I kind of had that bigger one, so that's good.
It's different.